Okay, welcome everyone to this webinar session. That's the second session this morning for us. As you know, probably you know all of us, the participants, this session is part of the final multiplier event of our European project, or such a project which is focused on researcher identity development. And we are particularly interested in early career researcher development. When I say we, I mean, I refer to a team of researchers from 5 countries working together for almost 10 years now and doing empirical research and offering resources and training all over the world. So we invite you to visit our website. You probably know it. If you can see it in a minute in the screen. Where you can find the results, the output, resources, publications, so the results of the projects which are available on an open regime basis. And mostly we invite you to visit our final output, which is an interactive site for researchers, a social site which is called Researchers Like Me. And it's a situation, it's a social site to share with other researchers like us our challenges, our resources. So we want it to be a community for early career researchers. And now the community is just starting, but the number of participants is growing every day. So thus we will be very, very, very grateful if you share with us your experiences and you send us feedback and your impressions, and above all, you share resources. We will put the slides of this session, so we will share them through this social site when the event is finished, so like next week. And you can find there also the recording of the session, so we will record the sessions. Okay, as I said, this is the second session this morning, and as you know, we will focus on relevant issues of ethics and integrity in research and researcher development, which is with no doubt something we need to reflect on even more when facing quick and unexpected changes like now, so in the pandemic times. I like to share with you some data, some information regarding who we are here today, who are the participants in this session, because the webinar format does not allow you to see the rest of participants, but we are a big community here. We are 66 registered participants, almost all here now, coming from different countries, 22 countries, so we are spread all over the world. People from Africa, hello, Nigeria, Morocco, I don't know what time it's in Nigeria now, but I'm sure it's not the morning like here in Barcelona. United States, South Africa, South America, Australia, Asia, and all over European countries. Almost half of the registered participants, you are pre-docs, so you are doctoral students or engaging, so starting your research career. 1/3 come from doctoral program developers or doctoral program coordinators, and the rest are postdocs, so probably struggling with your research careers, as usually postdocs do. It's a pleasure for us to count on Anu and Erika, Anu Tamelet and Erika Lofstrom, difficult pronunciation for me, to lead this webinar. They are in Tallinn and Helsinki, respectively, in sunny Tallinn, we were just saying. Anu is a researcher in Tallinn University. She's member of the team as Erika. And they have been researching on ethics for more than, I guess, 10 years. Am I right? Yes, Erika? Yeah. this was the topic of her research, and Anu is herself an early career researcher, aren't you? Yeah, she's already finishing the PhD. They are, as I said, members of our research team. And as you know, she will present the topic for the next 20 minutes. And then I'll pass the floor to you, the participants, for asking questions. So we want this session to be interactive. And please feel free to ask questions during the session too. And using the panel for answers and questions. So this tool that you have, I see it at the bottom of the screen. I guess you have it in at the same place. So we will circulate the questions and answers at the end of the session. So please use this tool for your questions, and the chat for comments, interactions with the rest of participants. If you have, you want to participate or say anything to everybody. If there are some remaining questions at the end of the session, so if we don't have time to answer all of them, because we are going to finish punctually at 45, at 11:45, then Anu and Erika will answer them, and we will distribute the answers through a doc to all the participants. So don't worry if we don't have time. You just raise the question and we will answer online or offline. So I think that's all. So Anu and Erika, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. Let me share my screen. And so good morning or good afternoon, or depending on where you are. It is great to see everyone. Me and Erika, we would like to talk today about research ethics training and developing research ethics competencies in a higher education institution, because this has been our interest for quite a while now. My name is Anu Tammelet. I'm from Tallinn University, where I work as an analyst of research ethics and data management. But I'm also closely related to the University of Helsinki. Erika, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Okay, thank you, Anu. And it's really impressive that we are so many people here gathered around ethics and integrity, and from, did I hear correctly, 22 countries. So that is really, really impressive. So my name is Erika Löfström. I'm professor of education at the University of Helsinki, Faculty of Educational Sciences. And I have a long-term interest in research on research ethics. And I've done research on related training processes, teaching and learning processes, on ethics in doctoral supervision, and this type of topics. I also teach research ethics and integrity from bachelor students to all the way to research ethics experts, and I'm doing ethics review as well, and serve on the National Integrity Board. So I'm involved in ethics and integrity from many different points of view, and this has been a very interesting project where we have really been able to put both ethics and integrity and all the knowledge we have about the related training and learning processes into use in this project.
Okay, so let's start. So today's plan is to have a small, so introductions are done now, so a small warm-up activity. Then we'll talk about the background to ethics education a little bit. If at all possible, we'll try to discuss why ethics competencies matter in higher education and seeing the bigger picture, and then with a wrap-up discussion. So if you have any questions by that time, then we would be happy to learn what you think. So the first thing that I'm asking you to do, and there should be a Padlet link also for you in the chat. So can you please access this Padlet wall and respond to a dilemma there. There's no need to log in or log into this platform. Just double click on the wall somewhere where it's clean, and then you can write down your thoughts. So whatever your thoughts are, the dilemma is written on the Padlet wall. And let's see if it opens nicely from here as well. Yes, and it should look something like that.
And we can't see the website. You have to share the screen for the navigator too.
Okay, I will do that. Just a second. Here. And but people can access it anyway and start reading the dilemma anyway.
I get access easily. Yeah.
I will just change the shared screen. It should be visible now. Yes.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
So let's spend a couple of minutes reading the dilemma and writing your thoughts. You can either use the plus in the right-hand corner, bottom corner, or double click in the wall. Erika and I are also encouraging you to post any of the questions also on the Padlet wall, because we will keep an eye on the wall. And if you have any questions, maybe it doesn't have to do with this particular dilemma, but maybe you just have a question, so you can also post it here, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. Okay, so if you want to continue posting in the Padlet wall, then feel free to do so. But and we will come back to this issue. quite shortly, but it was just here to give you some context. So I don't know how many people have really wondered, like, what works in ethics education in higher education in the first place. So mine and Erika's research has brought some interesting insights for us about ethics education in higher education institutions. What is surprising is that there are so many different opinions by academics of how to teach research ethics and who should do it. For example, there might be a group of, or there is a group of academics who thinks that research ethics can be, if you haven't learned ethics by the time you enter higher education institution, then there's nothing to do. End of story. Or they think that students should take lectures and learn about the norms and regulations, and then that's the end of their education. Then the third group may think that if the academics themselves are good role models, then the students will just pick it up. So we can see that that there are quite a lot of opinions what really works. Also, we have quite contradictory evidence of efficiency of traditional research ethics lectures. So they have shown that when you have like a lecture sessions about research ethics, then this does not mean that these people actually know how to do research ethically. Luckily, there are some things that work in ethics education. So we do know that cases and dilemmas are efficient in teaching about research ethics. This is not only related to research ethics. It has to do with various transversal skills, but real life examples or lifelike cases work in developing transversal skills, but also research ethics and integrity. We also know that facilitated ethical discussions in peer groups work, and this is also a very important part for the early career research PhD students, because this is part of the socialization process. But we do also know that there's a prerequisite in research ethics education, and that's ethical sensitivity. And we have quite a lot of research about this. What do we mean by this by ethical sensitivity? So this is the knowledge of the learner that there's something wrong in this situation. So you become sensitive towards an ethical dilemma. Then, so once you become aware of this ethical sensitivity, issue, you may start, let's say, noticing like who the stakeholders are in this particular situation, and only then can you start thinking about, you know, which norms and regulations are related to the stakeholders and to the situation, but also then coming up with possible courses of action. We also know that ethical sensitivity can be developed. So this is also researched quite nicely. So all in all, to take these ideas together, we can say that ethics education should provide learners with opportunities to acquire knowledge about the norms. They should be able to socialize with peers and academics and get opportunities to discuss the wider context of research integrity. So this is part of building their ethical sensitivity, but also including the cases and collaboration. Erika, if you want to jump in at any point, then please do so, because next I would like us to think a little bit together. What do you think? Which research ethics competencies are important for beginner researchers, but also more senior researchers? What do you think are their needs? And if their needs are similar or different? And how should they be trained? Should they be trained together or should they be trained separately? At the moment, I cannot see chat or anything. So if there are any comments or any feedback that we have gotten about it, then
I'm reading the chat here, and there is a comment that perhaps the needs are different, and so part of the training must be separate. Somebody notes communication skills. And there is another comment that perhaps they should be trained together and separately. So some kind of combination on those issues that are common. Yeah, comments echoing the same thought.
Thank you for your thoughts. You are actually not very far from the pedagogical ideas. So we all probably are aware, or it's a common knowledge that the zone of proximal development is the area where people acquire kind of competencies or skills the best, or even factual knowledge. And when we think about the zone of proximal development of those different learners, then what we have discovered is that and also research supports this, that beginners tend to focus more on sense making. Because if you think about this, then they come into the institution, they start doing this research, but they maybe don't even know the rules and regulations and the guidelines. So obviously they would focus first on the factual knowledge, on the norms and guidelines. Then once they have gotten to know those basic information, more experienced researchers focus more on principles and ethical analysis. So they do more analytic work. They also can analyze these situations better because they already have the prior knowledge, or they know the norms and regulations about that. But we have also brought in that we should also develop research ethics leadership competencies. What do I mean by that? I don't mean that these are the leaders' ethical competencies, but these are PhD students, these are postdocs, because when you think about this group of researchers, they are at the threshold. They are researchers, or still sometimes students themselves, but they are also becoming role models and teachers to others. So very often what happens is that postdocs and PhD students already work as lecturers at universities. So they are now becoming the leaders. So if we educate PhD students and postdocs to become very good research ethics leaders, then they would really bring benefits to the higher education institutions. So we are bringing up the next generations of leaders, research ethics leaders, who would act as role models. So we do agree that different expertise levels require different kinds of training, and they also need different kinds of scaffolding, meaning that what kind of help do they need? So obviously we would think that, okay, beginners need more help, they need more, you need to point out more information to them, while more experienced, they are more free to choose what they do and how they act in different situations, because they already have some prior knowledge and experience. Then if you think about this dilemma that we had on the Padlet wall, and now you try to figure out, okay, which stakeholders would different learners notice? Put yourself in the shoes of, let's say, a beginner researcher. Who would you relate with more? Okay, we had different layers there in the Padlet wall. Who would the beginners relate with? Who would more senior researchers relate with? And you can write in the chat, for example, and maybe Erika can have a look at it. because I can't, because once I share the screen, I cannot see the chat.
There is a comment here in the chat that perhaps the beginners might feel less scrupulous relating with the situation of job seekers more.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
Mm-hmm. It is really interesting to see that, because Erika and I have tried the same dilemma with PhD students, but also more senior researchers. And it was really interesting to see that they relate to completely different stakeholders there. While PhD students felt more related to, you know, the early career researchers who have to do it. And even though they know that there's something wrong, they have a feeling that they're, let's say, the senior researchers are making them do these things that are unethical. So they were trying to fight against it. While more senior researchers felt that, okay, they need to really educate the early career researchers, so that and maybe they need to get also the ethics reviews and all the other things that would make this kind of research, let's say, ethical. Then they had a completely different perspective. So what about the possible courses of action? What would you do in this case? Any ideas?
I'm picking a couple of comments here. Oh, okay, this relates still to the stakeholders. Seniors would rather bear in mind legal consequences of the study, maybe. Yeah, that could be. Wrongdoings and unethical are well known and accepted in academia in the name of free management style. So connecting to leadership, we're empowering those behaviors and training people in accepting abuses as normal in the field. And hopefully the ethics training would be the place where unethical practices can be and are discussed and not accepted and incorporated into the practices. So in that way, the ethics and integrity training can serve as important platforms. It might not always do that, but it's important to lift the potential of the training and to provide training, because this is a good way to develop cultures of integrity. But of course, we are not always all the time there in all cases. So there's a lot of work to do. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of more comments here. Because of their limited life experience, beginner researchers may find more difficult to relate to different types of stakeholders. Yeah, the more experienced you are, you might see stakeholders that that you might not see or recognize if you haven't had a exposure to those stakeholders and the experience of interacting with those stakeholders. But one group of stakeholders that is usually difficult for all is those that are not visible, but the issue might still concern them. So let's say if PhD students would be a stakeholder group, one of the stakeholders groups that is not visible would be PhD students who have dropped out from their PhD studies could be a stakeholder group, or PhD students who are not PhD students yet, but are maybe harboring intentions to apply to PhD studies. So that might be another non-visible stakeholder group. So this part of the exercise can be difficult even if you are more experienced, because there are always those groups who are not directly visible.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for all your comments. I'm throwing back to you, Anu.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you very much. As you saw that it's you already started to see that, okay, beginners may not see these things, and more seniors notice other things, and this is also the showing that there's like a continuum of research ethics education. So it doesn't maybe end with just this one course or training. So another thing that we have been thinking about is like how do the early career researchers, beginners, but also maybe more seniors end up with a need for research ethics training. So we have tried to map early career researchers' ethics journey here. So maybe you can relate to this. So before the training or before this journey even begins, the early career researcher may have a problem, or they may feel insecure. So they are doing their research, but they have challenges, they have lack of information, so they go and look around. Yes. So so the early career researcher starts to look for information. They communicate with their peers, their supervisors, they try to participate in training, and they also look for information online. So we were hoping that this that's why we set up the research ethics training online, so that those early career researchers or just beginner researchers who need help, they could easily find it. So once they find it, they try to go through different levels of training and develop their competencies, and hopefully they advance linearly from one phase to the next, and develop their competencies. So eventually we hope to have this new generation of researchers that are role models, but also would take over this research ethics leadership in their institution. And when we want to look at the bigger picture, like what are the implications of research ethics training, then as you see, when we start from the individual level, then we know that we need to train them with their norms and regulations and facts, because they come with their own skills and knowledge. And we need to, in higher education, we need to socialize them and let them know that, okay, this is how we do things. On the department level, this is where the initial socialization lies. So it's about relationships, it's about role model, teaching practices, and also like artifacts showing how we do things. This is good practice. So we have on the department level, there could be different kinds of trainings. On the institutional level, we also look at general leadership. So aiming to serve others, to make the infrastructure so that everybody would do the research ethically. So providing the support system and artifacts and practices, and really putting them on pedestal. And hopefully we can also influence the society or the bigger research community with this research ethics training by serving the society and also the education system. Oh, I'm sorry, just a second. Okay, and just to sort of wrap up, because we are coming to a close here. If you have any questions, please post them on Padlet, and we'll try to get back to you. So so what do you think? Let's think together if you have any like final thoughts, because I understand we have about 5 minutes left. And let's also think about the future. How does the field of research develop in this changing society? Like, what would the future be like, and what kind of changes might we need in research ethics training? let's think about competitiveness, which is competitive anyway already, or artificial intelligence, or let's say technological advances, and then this publishing pressure and other things. So all your comments welcome now.
Sorry, just to clarify, are you expecting people to use the chat, the Q&A, or the Padlet?
At the moment, they can use the chat. So
Okay,
I'm hoping that you or Erika would keep an eye on it.
Okay, great.
I'm also showing that on the next slide we have this question round that you can utilize.
There is a comment in the chat. An interesting question is perhaps if early career researchers are equipped with the ethical competence they need in order to advance not only their own career and maintain guidelines, but also further their own discipline. Do supervisors and departments have the competencies to equip early career researchers? I think particularly about complex challenges such as helicopter research in international projects, etc. This is a very, very good comment, because it's already complex doing research within your organization, and it gets even more complex when you're collaborating. And of course, research is collaborative in many ways today, and collaboration across organizational borders, but also collaboration across national borders is can be quite challenging in terms of the ethics, because the guidelines for instance, ethics review can vary significantly between countries and between institutions. So there are different expectations and there are different procedures that become explicit when you are collaborating.
Mm-hmm. And also one of the possibilities that we could think about is that we should institutionally, we should see that the research ethics training doesn't stop when you graduate. Once you become a supervisor, you should try to see continuous training or participating, even like on small scale, let's say discussions on, let's say, ethical dilemmas, because we know that these work. So supporting the early career researchers, but also being conscious about one's own development.
There is another comment here in the chat that because changes in society are accelerating, ethical training should be based on values rather than norms. Regulation and norms may not be coping with fast changes, for example, in digital technologies and social innovation. And I think you're absolutely right here that regulations tend to follow a little bit behind regulations and laws. And we see this, for instance, in the case of artificial intelligence, which raises a lot of ethical issues, and developments are really, really fast in that area. But the ethics and the regulation is a little bit behind, or following at a slower pace. In many situations, rules and regulations cannot cover all situations. And you encounter ethical dilemmas where you don't directly get an answer or solution from a regulation. And then eventually what you need to fall back on is your set of values and knowing what those values are and how those values relate to the values of the scientific community and the academic community. So I agree that in the end, we do have our values to guide us.
Mm-hmm.
and that therefore it's important to discuss the values and also being reflective about one's own values.
Absolutely. And yes, the values are also an integral part of different trainings that I have been in contact with just lately. So yes, I think that this is a good trend that we're seeing. Okay, as a wrap up, do we have any other questions or any issues that you would like to share? The slides will be up there, so all the references are there, and the links if you want to come back to us.
I do hope that you familiarize yourself with the materials that are out there on the website, and there are those cases, and there are some tools to help address ethical issues. And one of those tools we actually used a little bit today when we analyzed stakeholders, and so that's part of one of the tools. So please do familiarize yourself, and I see that there are many comments still here in the chat, and I apologize for not being able to address all of them right now, but we will return to those and make sure that we address all questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Anu and Erika. As we said, these are short sessions, but we will have opportunity to follow interaction through the website, and also we will answer and distribute we will answer the questions, the remaining issues, and we will distribute the document with these answers, as we said. As Anna put on the chat, we have now a next session, which is led by Matthew from Eurodoc, a representative from the European Association of Doctoral
Researchers,
exactly. So you are all invited to continue the conversation there if you want. So thank you very much for this inspiring session. There are so many issues on ethics that we need to rethink. There is also someone saying that maybe in the future, as we need to collaborate, and COVID is an example of that. So maybe the competitiveness will be at least not the only value that we see in the academia, and collaboration will help us to be more ethically oriented in our work life as our researchers. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.